Folks always want to know about the dating scene.
The date scene.
What is that like?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
I wasn't expecting that one.
It's hard. I mean, I don't know how deep I need to get on this platform. How do I say this? You need to know yourself. You just need to know yourself. The men's will be on you like white on rice. For sure. And recognizing that for some of us, I won't say all of us, like that isn't necessarily our experiences in our home countries or our home states, right? And so sometimes it's easy to get wooed and to get sucked into trauma.
Welcome to BLAXIT to Africa. I'm Tadre Delora Moignet, a California native living my best life in Nairobi, Kenya. Thank you so much for coming along for the ride. I hope that you are informed, entertained, and inspired to BLAXIT to Africa. Y'all, today I got a special guest. It's been a long time since I had an actual guest I could talk to, low-key interview about their experiences BLAXITing. So without further ado, let's just bring her on in. Come on in. Yes, you have enough room?
I do. Hey, y'all.
Hey.
We in here?
Yes. Okay. So this is my home girl. Okay, this is my home girl. Wait, bend down so they can see. Listen, do you see this hair? Do you see this hair? Turn it back. You see that? That's just beauty. This is how she showed up, okay? So this is my homegirl, Nenelwa, a.k.a. Malkia. Malkia means queen.
It does.
What does Nenelwa mean?
Nenelwa means forgiveness in my father's mother tongue of Kigogo. Yeah.
And who gave you Malkia?
I gave it to myself.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes we need to name ourselves.
I like that. But you're a forgiving queen. You're not a harsh queen.
Not all queens are forgiving.
Yeah, it's true, because I wanted to get like this Egyptian tattoo of one of the queens.
Ooh.
And my girlfriend, who's like was married to an Egyptologist, she was like, that queen was very harsh.
Whoa.
So maybe you don't want to go with that one. I was like, oh, okay, I could be a forgiving queen.
Thank you for the heads up.
Let me research this a little bit more before I put this on my body.
That part.
So we are here. We are like, basically, we just woke up a couple of hours ago. Happy New Year.
Merry 2025, y'all.
Look, who are you becoming in 2025? So we didn't go out last night. We were very intentional, although we did have some invitations, and I kind of did want to get dressed up.
I did, and I think we still can.
What you mean like today?
I mean, just like in general.
Okay, we can
dress up for ourselves.
For ourselves. We were invited to some things, and I was just like, I don't really feel like all that. I was in the bed. I was barely hanging on.
I was yawning because I was talking to my mom. Like, oh my goodness, it's 11 something. Will I make it?
Are we gonna make it?
Are we gonna make it? We made it.
But I can see the fireworks from my place, so I wasn't keen on going nowhere to see the fireworks, and it was nice. Like, we were very intentional. You did some journaling in a way. I mean, myself, I actually dug up last year's journal. And I was looking at like, okay, what did I do? What was I saying around this time last year? How did I live in that? I did pretty good. So I like to be very intentional around my birthdays, around New Year's, all of that. And because she is visiting from Arusha, she is a Tanzanian who has experienced living in the U.S., working, going to school in the U.S., learning in the U.S. And so I met her in that context. And because a lot of you are wondering what would be a better fit for you, Tanzania or Kenya, and she has the unique perspective of both, as well as all of this experience, not only living and loving in the U.S., but around the globe. So I wanted to just have an organic, authentic, in our pajamas.
Literally in the mirror.
in our pajamas with our tea. Just about, her perspectives. I have mine as an African-American woman who has basically lived most of her life in the U.S., and I wanted to bring her in to shed her perspectives as well. And, of course, we're going to veer off topic a little bit, but you'll get some gems. gems. So for me, the first thing I would want to know is, what would make you leave the U.S. and decide to live intentionally in Tanzania?
What would make me leave the U.S. and decide to live intentionally in Tanzania? My peace. My peace. And seeing and knowing that so many of the gifts that I have cultivated in my time in the U.S., so many of the networks that I have could go so much further in Tanzania. Feeling like oftentimes there was this dissonance, like we're always trying to make traction, we're always trying to make change, we're always trying to be innovative. And oftentimes in the spaces that I was a part of, specifically higher education, even secondary ed, feeling like there were these barriers to that, and realizing that it's not worth the fight. Oftentimes we don't need to prove ourselves in the space. We can just be. And I found oftentimes during my travels to Tanzania and other places outside of the US, I could just be. So I opt into that.
Wow. That's really powerful. Because in my BLAXIT consultations, that's really what people are looking for. They want peace. They want to just be, they want to be free from all the isms that exist in the U.S. And so when you made that choice, where did you land first in Tanzania?
I landed in Dar first.
Okay.
And loved the coastal vibe, loved the opportunity to be with some relatives and to kind of ease in to some of the socio-cultural dynamics that I met when I got there. And I realized, coming from a more, I would say, kind of independent, it's all about me, society, culture, customs in the U.S. to Tanzania, especially in Dar, where it's very communal. I mean, in Tanzania generally, it's very communal. It's about supporting one another. It's about family. It's about your neighborhood, seeing one another. That was great, and also very jarring at times because I was so used to doing things for and by myself, and just also having that time to myself. And I read this book, I'm forgetting the title of it, but it spoke about how, if you wake up in the morning and you don't get out of your home, that's seen from African tradition and customs, it's seen as like, what's wrong? What's happening with that person? What's wrong with that person? Are they okay? Are they alive? Because that's just like not what people do, right? When you get up in the morning, and I see it in my current community, people are walking up and down the street, good morning, ukopoa, like just the general greetings, just to check in with each other, even in the evenings. That's just part of the culture. You've ended the day, so like, how was your day? Let me just see you, let's check in before the next one. So I think for some things, with me, it was like, it felt tense, it felt like all up in my space, all up in my girl, I need like my time to just center and ground, and whereas, the culture is like, well, no, come on out. So, come on out. So it was definitely a learning.
How would you compare Dar to Nairobi in that aspect of community? Especially for the people who are like, I don't know if Dar or if Nairobi is for me. I had that client recently who was vacillating.
Wow. Well, I think it would really depend on what you're looking for. Dar and Tanzania, I would say as a whole, not to blanket it, but I'm blanketing it, is a country where like the expectation is also that you meet us halfway. Like you need to learn where you are, right? So in Dar, in the community that I was staying in, Changombe, shout out to Changombe. It was like a daily learning, when I'm going to buy chapatis or when I'm going to the local duka to get my fruits. It's like having those conversations with the folks that I was interacting with and really understanding who they were, their connection to the land, their connection to the neighborhood and how long they've been there, and me learning every single day, speaking in Swahili and making mistakes and being made fun of 90% of the time, but not being deterred from like continuing to do it every single day. So Tanzania is a country where I feel like, we're gonna welcome you. We're going to ensure that you get to where you need to go. We support you in however ways we can, and meet us where we are. So like you need to get some basics, Swahili, know your numbers, just some of those basics, like basic understanding of where you're going to be. Whereas I feel like in Nairobi, you could just drop me in and not. I still believe that there is an aspect of knowing, a knowing of where you are and doing a bit of, research about the neighborhood or that space and place. But in terms of accessibility, it's a little bit easier to just kind of flow into things. You could just call your Uber and just finagle it, figure it out, speak in English. And most times, in this time of being here with you, Tadra, speaking Swahili, a lot of the time focuses will be looking at me sideways like, huh?
Because you got that Tanzania Swahili. You got that good Swahili.
And like with the Tanzania, people clown me for it, but here it's just like, it's too much sometimes. It feels like for them, it's like, just speak English kind of thing.
Yeah.
Versus in Tanzania, that's just like our daily bread. So I think for folks who want maybe a quicker ease into a community or a space, I think that Nairobi might be a little easier. And it also seems a little more organized in the sense of like, okay, if you're looking for, I don't know, a space to do some sound healing or meditation work, like here are some resources. Shout out to Conscious Kenya or this group or that group that they can kind of plug you in. And I think in Dar, that definitely may be there too. However, I also think it's important to know somebody to kind of like help you into the fold and to kind of support you and share with you and kind of engage you into it. It's hard to just be solo in that, whereas I feel like in Nairobi or in Kenya, maybe it's easier to be solo.
Okay. All right. Did y'all, this is why I love her. Did y'all peep how she politely checked me? She polite. Listen, you got to meet us halfway. Like you got to put in some work. But I like that, and I think that that's really just spot on. When you're in Tanzania and the archipelago of Zanzibar, you must learn Kiswahili. Yeah. You must learn the culture. You know what I'm saying? And then as you were speaking about Kenya, like there are certain cities in the world where you travel where you could just drop in.
Yeah.
Nairobi's one of them. You just watch a few people on socials, whether it's YouTube, Insta, TikTok, and you can drop into what's hot in Nairobi.
Totally.
Where to go, even like little insider tracks in Nairobi.
Yeah.
But in Tanzania, or we'll say Dar es Salaam, that's not the case. Like you probably need to know someone who knows somebody. So I think that's a great point. Yeah. Yes, but this one, she keeps me honest. Yesterday we went out, I did a fashion tour. We had lunch with the people. The human brain loves to categorize. We love to generalize. I don't like generalizing because the moment I generalize, I meet somebody who's just like an exception. We love to stereotype people. But all throughout the conversation, she was politely checking me like, well, actually. I love that. Okay, so you left Dar. Why did you leave Dar, and then where did you go after Dar?
I left Dar because I wanted to find myself, and it felt really hard to do that in a community that was so that had a lot of familial influence. A lot of my family is in the Dar es Salaam area, or family of family, friends of friends, and I love that. However, I felt like it was a barrier to me, to my purpose in being here, and so I decided to kind of go off the beaten course a bit and return to Arusha. It's a place that I had lived in 2012 for about a year and a half, and really enjoyed my experience there. And I had went there actually to volunteer during the fall for some time, and I was just like, why am I not here? It's like the nature just nestling you every single day, the fresh fruit and veggies, just even the energy. I find that Arushians, they're a combination, like they have that Kenyan flavor, like a little bit of zing and a different exposure to folks in Dar. Of course, that's Tanzania. It's not a monolith, so also know that when you travel to wherever you decide to go. So there's a different energy there that I felt, but then also still has some of that like Tanzanian flavor that I am always drawn to and enjoy and learn from daily, and a different history and kind of generational legacy that I also was really curious about and open to. So
I have been corrected off camera. I've been corrected again. Dar es Salaam is not the capital of Tanzania all this time. Thank you. I appreciate y'all for checking me. I do. So Dodoma is the capital of Tanzania, and Dar es Salaam is, you said, the socioeconomic capital. All right now. So talk to the people about cost of living right? Dar es Salaam versus Arusha, and any place else that you think that expats might consider living and thriving.
So Dar es Salaam is definitely more of an urban environment, very different from Arusha. Arusha has spaces and places that kind of align with that, but not really. I would say Arusha, from my experience, is a place where a lot of families actually relocate to because of the nature, because there's just like so much land and space, and it's just so familial in many ways. I think even in terms of the generational legacies that I was talking about, you'll find, not that that doesn't exist in Dar. I think for me, it felt more in my face in Arusha, where you're meeting, friends or folks, and they're like, yeah, my family is Chaga, or my family is Maasai, and this is our land, and like this is my piece of the land, and there's just this generational vision that so many folks, their families had, and so there is a different tie to the land and to their traditions and customs that, as a Tanzanian who my mom is Mnyaramba and my dad is Mgogo, and I'm always learning more and more about those two kabilas, those two tribes. However, because we were the only ones, for the most part, in the United States, it was hard to really learn some of the customs and beliefs and traditions that those tribes have, because there's so few of us, and a lot of my relatives were in Tanzania. So it's really cool and just interesting to learn about what that looks like when you have mass, like we are all Wapare, or we are all X tribe, and every December we go home, and these are some of the customs that we need to go back to. These are the ways that we need to honor the ancestors. These are the ways that we need to do X, Y, Z. It's just really powerful to me because I hadn't really seen that growing up. So for Arusha, I would say there is kind of more of that, and again, because we're close to Mount Kilimanjaro, the various national parks, like nature and humans really coexist, I think, in a beautiful way. Versus Dar, it's more just urban. It's just a different energy. I think you have to really understand the lay of the land with the city to even maximize your experience, because if you're just living in Masaki or in Sasani or wherever else on that side of the bridge, for sure it's beautiful, and it's one experience in Dar. It is not everyone's experience in Dar. But again, the contrast, I would think, is just depending on what you're looking for. If you want a faster pace of life, if you want access to these organizations, to maybe more seafood, that kind of thing, Dar is the place. If you're looking for a slower environment, I'm a townie. I grew up in Western Massachusetts, which is it's a small town vibe. So I think that's just something that I'm also really accustomed to and appreciate. And so for me, Arusha aligns. There's also another city, a couple of cities that are up and coming, Dodoma being one of them. That is the political capital. A lot of universities there. And it's really it's growing slowly, steadily. So that could be a great place to invest if you're looking to do that, but also just kind of get a different perspective. And then Mwanza as well. That's another place that I have often thought about living in. Mwanza for me feels like the happy in between Dar and Arusha. It's, you have access to the lake, to the water, beautiful, like fresh food. The seafood is the sato. Fish, if you love fish, is really yummy. It kind of has like a small town feel, but then there's just access to a little bit more than I think a small town would offer, like malls, shopping centers, things like that. But again, it's not completely developed yet. Like I would say, not that Dar is, but it's different from Dar in that regard, but it still has space for you to just innovate. And it's a family kind of environment as well. So that could be a possibility.
But from what I understand, the cost of living is significantly lower than what we experience in Kenya, period. The last thing I want to ask you about, my very private friend. Let's see what she gonna give us.
Oh gosh.
Let's see what she gonna give us, y'all. Folks always want to know about the dating scene.
The date scene.
What is that like? I know you're a woman. It's hard to see from a male perspective. But, from your experience in your skin, what's the dating scene like? Because a lot of people are just like, I would like to have love in my life. Everybody's not coming with a partner.
For sure. For sure. It's interesting. I find, at least within our diaspora community, that there are a lot of single women who have transitioned, repatriated to Tanzania. And yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
I wasn't expecting that one.
It's hard. I mean, I don't know how deep I need to get on this platform. How do I say this? You need to know yourself. You just need to know yourself. You will find, as a Black woman, an African descendant, wherever you live in the world, you're coming back home. This is your home, this continent. The menses will be on you like white on rice. For sure. And recognizing that for some of us, I won't say all of us, like that isn't necessarily our experiences in our home countries or our home states, right? And so sometimes it's easy to get wooed and to get sucked into trauma. To get sucked into trauma because of not understanding the sociocultural landscape of the place that you are repatriating to. And if you don't understand it, it's easy to get lured in, because again, there's just a lot of nuance to not only Tanzanian men, Kenyan men, wherever you go. There's just nuance there that you have to understand in order to be able to receive whatever love is meant for you there. So for me, I found that I have taken a pause, on dating. I'm currently dating someone.
Look at that smile. Look at that smile.
I'm currently dating someone.
Which she has not told me about. I only know the man's name, but I've been waiting for her to just give me some more. Auntie don't want to push. You know what I'm saying? I've been waiting for it. Okay, so you saw the smile. You are. Okay.
And it's a journey. And we are taking our time. And sometimes I think, I don't want to say it's desperation. I just think it's wanting to step out of that bout of loneliness that I would say a lot of us as repatriating folks experience. So again, to me, it's really important to be open and also take your time, because sometimes it's a loneliness that is fueling a particular relationship or interaction, but that might not be the healthiest for you, because folks will have different ulterior motives, just like anywhere in the world. But I find when you're abroad, sometimes you're more susceptible to it, because again, you don't always understand those nuances of a place. And me myself, I've been victim. I won't say fully victim, right? Because we have a role in it, but I've experienced it myself, and it's really hard, and it's even a hard thing to share with someone, because you feel like, man, I really got played in a really just unexpected way by someone that I thought was like, if anything, a friend, because I think that's
at the base, like, dang, you ain't even like me.
You ain't even like me.
You don't like me.
So I say with love, you have to take your time
and know yourself. When you were talking, I actually I got tingles from my head throughout my body. Know yourself as you're talking about this experience, because not knowing yourself will have you settling. Not knowing yourself will have you going for the okie doke. You know what I'm saying? Inviting some mess up in your house, you wasn't even ready for. The honey.
Okay.
Yes, and then taking your time, but I think it also depends on what you want and at what stage in your life. You know what I'm saying? Some people like chaos. You know what I mean?
Some people do like chaos.
Let's not bring that with us. One of the things that this content offers is a healing.
Totally.
And you can take advantage of that healing through slowing down. I made a video about Zanzibar, and the video went viral. What I didn't talk about was how Zanzibar allowed me to decompress from the U.S. And I think I will have to go back and talk about how the people left me alone, which I've seen Americans really F with some immigrants. Ooh. Just walking down the street, speaking your language to your people. Oh, we speak English here. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I won't go all into that, but to your point about relationship with community, relationship with friends, relationship with a romantic partner, this continent affords you the opportunity to slow down, to connect to the land, to ground, to connect to the sea, to the lake, to the mountains. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And in that, there is your healing. It will be an unconscious thing. And the reason why I brought up Zanzibar is because coming from the U.S., I was so accustomed to greeting people in passing. Ooh. Right? So I would just be like, hi, or in that case, mumble, you know what I mean? And people started to do it back to me.
Wow.
So they were reflecting me. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, you need to stop and look at somebody and actually greet them. You know what I'm saying? Look at them in their eyes. And yeah, there's so much more I could say about that. So yeah, come here and get your healing. And then I also, maybe we'll come back and we'll talk more about what she's building here. And hopefully that will give you some inspiration to also come back and build.
I love that.
All right.
I love it.
So, somebody said you could tell by her nose ring everything about her. Y'all think I'm woo-woo, I'm spiritual. She on a whole another level. But wasn't she great? Thank you for joining me on this episode of BLAXIT to Africa. If you like what you heard, please share, subscribe, and leave a comment. May you thrive. May you be inspired. May you move with love and intention. Until next time.